Hey, listen, I quit. Yeah, I'm going into stocks.
Name of the game. Move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket.
But if you can make your client's money at the same time, it's advantageous to everyone, correct?
No one is paying attention.
It's unbelievable.
Have to act now.
God, this is intimate. I feel like I'm financially inside of you or something.
Okay.
I have 5 houses and a condo.
I'm considering going long on April wheat. What do you think, Valentine?
Alright, so hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Good to see all of you here, and thank you very much for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. Every little helps spread the info that we're trying to spread. Now, for those of you guys who are new to the channel, we talk about market profile here. So I run you through some of the ideas, the strategies, some of the simple nuances that you need to get so that you can start doing the right thing today. There is I say this almost every single video, there is so much stuff out there about trading, but the one thing that we can say hands down is that for 90% of people, it's not working. Maybe it's less, right? I just pulled 90% out of the air, to be fair, but for the vast majority of people, it's not working, right? And that means that you need to start considering and moving down the direction of ideas that are going to bring you a degree of success and a degree of stability when it comes to your trading and investments. I'm one of those people, is that I need to have this as stable as possible, right? I don't think it's worth the time if you just keep losing money year on year on year on year on year and you're not able to find that stability. So for me, that's what I try and achieve. It's not about making $1 million on a trade or $50,000 in an hour or 20,000. You see this all the time. You just have to go on Twitter. It's all over the place, right? The people who are doing this are taking incredible risks that more than likely will blow them up, or they're going to get a big windfall. They get lucky and it's going to add zeros to the account, which I suppose is the idea. It was a big gamble at the end of the day, and then they might taper down their risk. They've done the hard thing. They've risked and they've gambled as best as possible, and it's gone in their favor. So they're like, thank you very much. I'll just taper down my risk, put my P&L up there so everyone can see. I made 6 zeros, 7 zeros. Hey. But if you ask that trader to replicate that, they probably couldn't do it, right? Because we all know that if everyone could keep on consistently making $1 million on every trade, then they're going to be like a billionaire by within like year 2, right? The point is that it's almost always a small number of trades that might give the largest pot, or it could be a very risky play. So again, we always have to be conscious when we look at stuff online, when we see what people are doing. We have to be conscious that it might not always be the case, right? So over here, we don't want to bring that kind of pretense. I always say to traders that you don't need to trade big to make money. Everybody has, their needs, but you have to. Trading doesn't care about your needs. Trading is just what it is. You're in the market, you have a certain amount of capital, you need to be able to manage that risk. There is hardly any information asymmetry at the moment, and most information is out there. It depends on what you're willing to pay for it. So in my opinion, information edges, all these things, they don't exist anymore. So the only edge that has to exist is how we manage our risk, and in other words, what is our trade location. That's some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. All right, so first and foremost, as always, let's ride on position. So here we have the Aussie dollar, and we have a gap in value, so expect an upside swing in my opinion. We do have a few bid stack in here. I'm keeping an eye on this. We had a nice bounce last week. We're settling here. There's a good chance we can run up. Now, I'm structurally bullish on the Australian dollar. So again, this is a commodity play here. I think the Aussie's been a little bit weaker due to geopolitical stuff that's going on. There's a lot of things underpinning the dollar's interaction with some of these comdols, especially the Aussie. So I'm looking at this more as a commodity play. If we do get a big move in the commodities, the Aussie could just get dragged along. And it does look like we might see that. So if we pop over to crude oil, I'm looking at this for a value trade, so I definitely think there's an upswing here. We will look for shorts to liquidate just above last week high, so if we do get a push, we might get a big extension. Now when we look typically with what's happened with crude oil, we've seen that the range has thinned out, and this is an important aspect of market profile, is understanding range, understanding how that relates to your asset class, and that's something that we try and teach people. For those of the guys who've done my courses on market profile, if you haven't, I'm just gonna, of course there's a link below on how you can find out more about that. I have a free Discord server where you get a ton of information. I post up trades, all kinds of stuff, right? So guys who've been following me for a long time actually know this, right? So again, for me, it's an incredibly important aspect of trading is understanding the range, right? So again, from what we are looking at, if we do get an upside swing and we do get that short liquidation, so the shorts have to cover, you know, with a loss, we might get an extension, and then we're looking at attacking this value. So that's kind of where my head's at the moment. So it's actually a really good play. I was long crude oil, so again, my P&L up on the screen. I was long crude oil. You know, I've been in a long position now for 3 weeks almost, and you can see that from my P&L. And I'm also looking for this as a good ad for a value trade, in which case you can just do the value trade. It is a 70% probability trade, right? So again, it has a high return rate. So again, it's a trade that you want to always put in your repertoire, especially when you're looking at commodities. Again, the S&P 500, I'm structurally bullish on that. I said that last week. We did get that upswing as I expected. Again, just looking at the range, you can see my resistance level was set purely based on range, right? So again, it's about understanding the volatility in that asset, right? So again, when we think about volatility, we think about historical volatility and implied volatility. Of course, I'm also an options trader, and one of the things that you will see, of course, is, and I'm always very realistically generous about this, is, as you can see, I've got my options platform, and of course I'm with Interactive Brokers. Well, not a plug, but they are probably, I'm in the UK, so it's probably one of the best options that I have for trading options, equities, anything I want to touch, basically I can do with Interactive Brokers. So I actually love the platform. So of course it is what it is. I will leave a link below if you are interested, or you want to find out a little bit more how you can do what I do with Interactive Brokers. There's a link in the description below. It'll give you access to cheaper fees. That's it. That's all there is to it. Generally speaking, it's a great broker. I would never recommend something I don't use. Again, I am affiliated with Interactive Brokers in that way, so I'll get a benefit if you sign up via the link. But there it is, it will give you a benefit too. Okay, so enough of Interactive Brokers and the link. However, I do use them for options. So again, I sell premium. So one of the things that I do a lot is sell premium, and it gives me a guaranteed, more or less, weekly income, which is what I'm looking for. Now, of course, having said that, I'm going to get weeks where, you know, premiums explode. I've sold premium at a level, it goes too high, and I need to manage my risk, and I might have to cover that option and sell more premium in order to cover any kind of papered loss. Again, I have a course on options, quite detailed. Again, if you're interested in options, you should probably take a look at that. But again, I will do this and I will cover any papered losses, and I'll be able to recover them quite quickly. So my objective is to make money every week or remain flat, worst case scenario, right? Which gives me steady income, which means I don't need to worry about my leverage trading. I can trade small sizes, relaxed, and also add whatever I make in my leverage trading. I can add that to what I make in my options. So if I have a bad week in leverage trading where everything's down, obviously when you see how I trade, you would realize that it doesn't matter for me if everything is down. Again, for my P&L, you can see that I diversify, and that's what I always try and preach to traders, is that you want to diversify. We're in a market where everything is correlated, which makes it incredibly difficult for you to diversify. But again, I think it's important that you learn to diversify, so try and get as non-correlated as you can. But again, with a tool like Market Profile, you can actually see assets that are diverging very, very quickly. We spoke about this, and again, you'll see an example of that. So again, we're looking at the S&P 500. Again, if I'm expecting an upside break. We do have a gap in value, so watch out for any trackbacks in the US session where we could end up trading bids. But because I'm structurally bullish, I'll always look to buy the dip. It's the only play there is. Again, I know that We have a strong support level down at value low going back 3 weeks. So again, that's the level. You can see the big build here and we're trading above that. This is a very clear sign that obviously anyone who is short here, we had massive short liquidation last week. So there's not really going to be an appetite to come back in and short this market. So my idea is that we should find it very comfortable up here trading bids. Again, let's say I'm wrong, we get a flash move. 3990 is the support for me on the S&P, and it will be a big buy up back to the upside. So again, that's the point where we would look at normally for corrections, but for the most part, I'm pretty much bullish. Gold, I'm bullish for a value trade. I mean, we have quite an extended value here, so we have a little bit of minus development. And again, guys, if you don't know what this is, check out my profile courses. But again, we do have minus development. So again, we could take in some support resistance here, but my expectation is with gold, we get when we think about range as well, we get a lot more free flow movements in gold. I think the tough level to breach is the 2K, but I think we should get a nice little value trade here, at least into offers, which is what I'm looking to play. So again, you can see I've got a position on gold, looking for the value trade to the upside. Again, one of the things you notice is that I'm trading a weekly profile, which allows me to execute within the day, take short-term positions without having to do a top-down approach to analysis, right? I can see it all within one viewfinder. So again, this is another important aspect. When we use market profile, it allows us to identify the strong points in the market at a glance without having to do it, in my opinion, a very, very draggy top-down analysis. It is just like, oh, I gotta go to the weekly chart, then the daily chart, then the 15-minute, and then the 5. When are you gonna ever put that trade on? And you're gonna get a lot of conflicting information. No one wants to talk about that. So market profile for me just eliminates that, and I can see key levels when I want to react. I'm using the longer time frame as a reference, but I'm executing within the shorter term window. Cable, I did say to you guys that I'm structurally bullish on the dip. For me, it was always buy the dip. As you can see, the 4-week low held and we bounced quite nicely. I think we get a nice little value trade this week for sure. The balance is extending. We have a responsive initiating buyer coming in within the value area. It's very exciting, and we have a gap in value. So I think cable is opening up for perhaps a big run. I think the trouble here is getting over the 126.35 stack or 126.09 to 35 stack. So I will watch out for that for a pullback to the downside. But again, if you're structurally bullish, you're looking for those big downside moves at really key levels that you can play to the upside. So again, when we think about trade location, this wasn't a bad trade location to be long. So you probably, if you're going to be long on cable, this is probably your best chance. It gives you a nice little box and you can look at some decent upside return in the next week to two. Of course, we are inside value, and I always talk about volatility when we're inside value. So we could go up, hit value high, come down, hit value low, and we get trapped in this box. So we could end up with a consolidation week, and it's from those weeks that we get the pop higher. So then again, you can see that there's some liquidity concepts that are easy to tie in with market profile. Dollar yen, I did say to you guys that based on structure, and I do structure for all my trades, and again, it's not something I'm showing you here now, but that's another key part of before you touch your profile is to build structure. So again, I can see quite carefully that dollar yen is going to the upside, and we got a gap in value, so I'm always mindful of those inefficiencies need to get dealt with. But for now, I think we do the upside before we do the downside, and I did say that last week. And for those of you guys who saw that I had a dollar yen position on, I ended up having to cut that, take some profits off the table just to manage my portfolio. Dollar CAD, I'm structurally bearish on this one. We do have an offer stack here. However, my sentiment is changing slightly, because what I'm doing here is I'm looking at the build up here. We're trading above what I think to be a bid stack. What we want to see is the market cutting under this. That would open up the downside, because the longs would essentially be trapped and they'll have to liquidate. Right, so again, we're looking for those trap traders, and we can kind of see there's been a bit of a build up here. So there's a bid stack here. In my opinion, if we take these guys out, we're going to cut straight through this. So there's been decent support for quite a few weeks at that 133.29 level, but in my opinion, you know, any more upside has to come above the offer stack at 136. Again, that's kind of where you'd expect any kind of resistance to come from. Bitcoin, like I said, I want to see more downside. I am structurally bullish long term on Bitcoin because of where we are in the cycle. Plus, you can see from the profile here that we've already started to have some major moves. We have a nice little bid stack here. I'm looking, if we're going to go down, that's where we want to get involved. Range wise, looks great. We need to see that response here if we're going to get long on Bitcoin. But for now, I think getting long at these levels is preempting it. We do have a responsive buyer here. I think that this becomes more of a consideration if we can reclaim this week's high at the very least. Then we might start showing some upside potential. But again, with all the flow to the downside, I'd need to see a little bit more structure. So at the moment, for me, I'm not really looking at Bitcoin for a position. Sterling yen, I got a position on this already. Structurally bullish on sterling yen. Actually, do I have a position on sterling yen? Yes, I certainly do, in a different portfolio, but I do have one on this one. Structurally, I'm bullish anyway on this. I think we're going to have a lot of big movement on sterling yen in the coming weeks before we start to fade it. So again, it's been great being long from these lows. When we had the dip about 2 weeks ago, I did say to you guys that it was a perfect level to get long. You can see that in a couple of my other videos I've done. I put out a lot of videos in this channel. The idea is to spread the word, is get as many people as possible understanding how they need to be doing this. The Kiwi, I'm bullish, definitely. Structurally, I would like us to see us enter this area. Again, we got these offer stacks sitting, which is correlating with a lot of the other currencies, but I'm structurally bullish on the Kiwi. So again, we have a nice little gap in value that we need to fill here. So there's a lot of chance for the upside. So again, I would pretty much stay tuned for that. Again, we have a gap in value to the downside. So we're going to get pretty volatile over the next coming weeks. We're expecting huge downside, but are we going to do the upside first or the downside first? Well, my bet is that we get to do the upside first before we track back and fill the gap. So that's kind of where my head's at, is that we need to go long. So I'm definitely bullish on the Kiwi. So that's kind of it, guys. That's how I'm positioned this week. Hopefully you learned a lot from this conversation. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. But once again, till my next video, guys, adios.
Hey, listen, I quit. Yeah, I'm going into stocks.
Name of the game. Move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket.
But if you can make your clients money at the same time, it's advantageous to everyone, correct?
No one is paying attention.
It's unbelievable.
Have to act now.
God, this is intimate. I feel like I'm financially inside of you or something.
Okay.
I have 5 houses and a condo.
I'm considering going long on April week. What do you think, Valentine?